ready.
SDP, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Let's go!
Hey, the NHL, it costs a lot of money to hurt the NHL's feelings, eh?
Yeah. Well,
Like if I hurt my little girl's feelings because we can't watch Peppa Pig anymore, it doesn't cost me anything except for a little bit of her love.
Wow.
And that's you have to just deal with that as a parent. But with the NHL, it'll cost you $250,000. Who knew?
I'm not going to lie. I thought it would be so much more money than that. I thought because we've made fun of at length the ridiculous $5,000 fines in the NHL. It's so pointless. It's beyond pointless. But for coaches and GMs and apparently owners, there is no such limit. It is much, much, much higher. I honestly thought the Rangers were going to get dinged from Mill.
If you missed it was $250,000 that the NHL fined the New York Rangers. If I'm James Dolan, I roll up with a bunch of pennies and go, here you go.
Well,
honestly,
let's discuss it because
let's not. Let's get into who wore the crown.
Yeah. Okay.
I you know what? I like who wore the crown, but it sort of gets in the way of talking about the stuff I actually want to talk about sometimes. Sure. And I kind of hate that it's the beginning. So we're going to get into it, but it's starting to get a little annoying for me. So we're going to get into who wore the crown. What the hell was the last game anyways against the Canadians? Who's sponsoring the segment, Jesse?
All right. Today's Who Wore the Crown is sponsored by Andrew McGinnis. Andrew McGinnis donate to Sick Kids Foundation. And Andrew wants to shout out the nonprofit Teams for Good. It's founded by a group of girls that Andrew went to high school with. He played soccer together with them. And Teams for Work Good Inc. was formed back in 2016. They've become an effective community service provider on a monthly basis and have directed proceeds from their fundraising events to provide significant philanthropic support to communities and organizations throughout their local community. So shout out Teams for Good. You can go to teamsworkforgood.org if you want to find out more.
And that's your sponsor for Who Wore the Crown. The next time you want to do something good for the world, why not sponsor? Why not sponsor Who Wore the Crown? Why not? All right. So who wants to go first?
Steve does.
I do. Okay. So I was going to go with the easy one, 3, 2, 1, TJ Oshie. But since it's got to be for the Leaf game, I am going to go off the board here. It's hard enough to do your job well. Mm-hmm. It's hard enough to do your job well when it changes. It's even harder to do your job well when it constantly changes. And this is a guy we've criticized a fair amount. I have no idea how long he's going to be a Leaf. But I got to say, even though it hasn't been perfect, over the last couple of weeks, I have grown a new admiration for Travis Dermott. I really have. Left D, right D, left D with a new partner or whatever it happens to be. He's out there with a minute left. Obviously, it went in. It hasn't been perfect. But Travis Dermott is being such a good teammate. He's being versatile. I got to admire the fight in this guy and the willingness to compete for his team and not against them under the given circumstances. Good for Travis Dermott. I've been impressed.
Jesse.
So there was an interesting article that Maple Leafs Hot Stove did about Austin Matthews' injury. And they quoted Brian Matthews in it, who writes for the NHL.com. They said, "This has been a hard season, much harder than I think people realize. There were times that when he was playing, he could barely hold onto his stick. We tried all kinds of different knobs and everything else. It's not so much that you got knocked down, it's what you're going to do. How are you going to get off the mat? How are you going to respond?" And Austin has really taken that to heart. This man is about to win the Rocket Richard Trophy easily, like runaway victory, and he couldn't hold on to his stick at times this season.
Austin Matthews tweets about that, buddy.
What?
I saw a lot of chirps from Canadians fans going, "Oh, he had to change his knob," and they were making knob jokes. knob jokes. Anyway, sorry, Jesse.
Call the cops again, guys. Call the cops again. Shut up. Anyway.
So as much as you can praise Austin Matthews, it's never going to be enough. So I want to give him some more praise and give him my crown today because he's what is he, 39 now? I forget how many goals. 39. One away from 40. Unbelievable season. I wish it would have been an 82 game season. He'd be on pace for, I think, 65 goals. 66. Wow. 66 goals, which is just crazy. It's Ovechkin like in peak Ovechkin. So shout out Austin Matthews. There goes my crown.
That's an extremely nice article, by the way, by his dad. You said the author was Brian Matthews?
Oh, yes.
That's his dad's name.
Yeah, Brian Matthews I was like, quoted in NHL.com.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, they do.
Austin Matthews, by the way, the next closest person, he's got 39. The next closest is Connor Jesus McDavid with 31.
Oh, so he's going to get past then.
Well, he might be the way Connor McDavid's playing, which is just insanity. Connor McDavid, we can definitely talk about a little bit later. But I think, I'm going to give my crown to the unsung hero, I think, of the year. And he's gotten crowns before.
Alexander Barabanov.
No, I want to give it to TJ Brodie again.
Again?
Oh. Yeah. Now, the reason is that it's unexciting. And that's the kind of hockey he's been playing. Unexciting. Do you notice that TJ Brodie's there? I do, because of how happy I am. Okay. All right. How many times would you say, if you're watching, Steve being you're probably watching TSN in the morning. So when you're watching Jay Onright. Whoa. We don't allow that Bell Media property TSN in the morning. How many times would you say TJ Brodie shows up in the highlights? Offensively, maybe because he had a 6-zone on the exit, just that's about it. Cruising over the blue line. It's almost never. He's delightfully boring. The thing about TJ Brodie that I love over guys like Brian McCabe and Jake Gardiner and players who are objectively good defensemen for the Toronto Maple Leafs is that all too often those highlights were bad. They were lowlights. And as much as I liked Jake Gardiner, as much as the next guy, and really it was less about him and more about the ridiculously not good cast that those guys are surrounded with, I don't ever see that with TJ Brodie. I don't ever see anything. And what we need, with a guy playing with Morgan Rielly, who I love Morgan Rielly on offense, Morgan Rielly on defense is suspect. I think we could say that. It's a little sus, right? Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, we're not dissing Morgan Rielly and what he does, but that's just not what he does. And having TJ Brodie there, what a stabilizing, incredible influence that's been on the Leafs' top defensive pairing. Obviously, I know everybody's like, "Oh no, it's it's Muzzin and Hall," and I get that, but I like that nickname for the pair. Muzzin. Yeah, I like that. Give you a Muzzin. Sounds like something painful. Mall. Oh, you got molds. I like that better. That's better. More than husband. Yeah, husband. That sounds like something illegal you do with a family member. But anyway, sounds like you drunkenly pronouncing husband. I think when I look at it, I love that TJ Brodie plays straight up boring hockey. We needed a guy who could do this at a high level, and here we are. And isn't it fantastic to have it? I know it's not an exciting choice, and it's not an exciting name. I mean, he was exciting when he signed, but who's talked about him this year? And that's the good thing. Nobody's talking about him, which means he's doing great. You talk about him in passing. Yeah. You go, hey, yeah, this is a good play. All right. Anyway, so Matthews, and then, you move on. It's great. It's the best. Adam, take us home, baby. Well, that's Who Wore the Crown, brought to you by Jesse. One more time, let's shout out the group and then shout out the name. Yeah, let's shout out Andrew McGinnis, who started Teams for Good, teamsworkforgood.org, if you want to learn more, with his high school mates. They're still doing a lot of good in the community, raising a lot of money for a lot of charities. Andrew McGinnis. Thank you, Andrew. And thank you for shouting it out. And listen, anytime you want to sponsor Who Wore the Crown, why not message Jesse? Why not? It's important. And it's also it's doing good for the community. Whatever community you're in, we don't care. If you're local to Florida, we could do some good in that community too. That's great. Whatever. Yeah. And if you're not sure where to donate, Sick Kids is great. What's that? Yeah. For the people of Hillsborough. Sure. Big supporters of Hillsborough, Florida. I'm into it. I don't know what that
also,
is.
I'm a little conflicted because I keep accepting new entries for Who Wears the Crown, but eventually the season's going to end, right? Mm-hmm. So if I start booking stuff in the off season and we're not guaranteed to have, I don't know, shows or games, like, I feel like I'm going to be lying to people.
I'm going to be honest with you. I would really love to find a way to kill the segment and just shout out somebody great off the top of the show. It's just killing me. Can I say it? Can I be the one that says it? The Crown segment's not doing it for me anymore, guys.
I feel like you're the only person who felt that way, and it's been a sudden change.
I hate it.
This wasn't brewing. This is just all of a sudden.
See, so what you know,
you're not feeling it.
No, what you need to know is behind the scenes, I plan out the show, and I know that Steve and Jesse, no matter what I bring up, Steve and Jesse know their shit, and they know they're gonna
fucking great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and so I don't really need to run the show by them. But every time we start the show, I want to start with this banger intro, and then it's like, let's take a right hand turn and for a bit. And so, can we just find a different way to shout out and do some really great stuff?
No, Adam.
Am I crazy about the Crown segment?
No, we need to talk about the Leafs who have not played, instead of the thing everyone wants us to talk about for at least an hour.
You didn't have to put Who Are the Crown at the beginning. You could have put it in the middle.
I did, though, because remember the time I didn't, and you were like, oh, you guys fucked it up.
Because that was a Leafs day. Today's not a Leafs day.
You look like you're struggling to impress yourself or express yourself. Why not try Babbel? That way you can.
in 15 minutes or less.
There you go.
Over 100 language experts. Don't you forget it. Now, I think really, honestly, the NHL. We got to start. Let's start from the end. The NHL finds.
We never figured out the Crown stuff, but let's move on.
No, we'll let the listeners say. But maybe, hey, listen. Maybe if you're listening to the show, you're like, I fucking love that. I live for that segment. Well, who's Jesse gonna crown this time? Then great. I could be wrong. I'm wrong.
Take that away from me. I take your friggin' knees.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it could be that. Right? Could be that. My thing is, I do want to get into the Rangers thing because it is important. The New York Rangers hurt the NHL's feelings. And the NHL has the right to fine the New York Rangers. Now, when you're a billionaire, it's the equivalent of getting a $5,000 fine. Tom Wilson was fined $5,000. The average, based on what Tom Wilson makes, it would cost him about $66 Canadian. That's based on the average salary. So it's nothing, not a fine.
That's the players.
That's the
collective bargaining agreement.
Smart move by the players to do that. Make them, force them to actually suspend you. And it makes it, then there's like an appeals process and all that stuff. For James Dolan, who is the, shall we say, unpredictable owner of the Rangers and Knicks.
Eccentric.
Is that fair? Eccentric.
Yeah.
What the hell is $250,000? Who cares? He's a billionaire. Yeah, even for MSG that owns the Knicks and the Rangers, that's like the left leg of a fourth liner. Like, who cares?
What if he just does what so many people have suggested, and I think we spoke about it yesterday, Adam. What if he just doesn't pay it? He goes, I'm James Dolan, you can't tell me shit.
Well, he's the owner. He's the number one owner in the league. He owns the number one franchise, so he's the number one owner.
Do the Rangers not get to play?
What are they going to do?
We're not making the playoffs anyway. Fuck you. What I would love for the social experiment, I just want to see him not pay.
I would
just not pay.
He's the kind of owner who would too.
I'm gonna bet that's written down somewhere in terms of clauses with teams, and
lots of things are written down anywhere.
Yeah, but there would be consequences that are written down. Like they would have thought of that.
Forfeiture of draft picks, I would think.
Probably
something.
What if the Rangers just jump up there during their time? Like, fuck you, we're picking anyway. Like, they give their pick away. It's like, no. I do think that the NHL. A lot of people said this fine was going to be a lot more than it was. And obviously, if you've been following hockey, you know the Tom Wilson situation. We'll get to that part in a second.
No. But I don't know the Tom Wilson situation. The rules told me to forget everything every 18 months. I don't know who that player is.
So can we hold off on that? Because I'm trying to make just a quick point here.
Mm-hmm. Make your point.
My point is, which I've sort of half forgotten, is the $250,000 fine to a lot of people, including myself, seemed low. And I think there is a reason for that. And that is because the NHL recognizes that this is the most valuable franchise in the sport, money-wise. You could claim that the Canadians or the Leafs or the Bruins or whatever have a brand that stretches further. Or I don't know. Like, I don't know how you measure that. I'm sure there are ways. But pretty tough to argue against the Rangers. And frankly, they're in New York. Of course, they're the most valuable franchise in the sport. And beyond that, you don't want to start a war with a guy who's eccentric. You don't want to do this. The NHL didn't want to go toe-to-toe with Eugene Melnyk. What do you think they're going to do against James Dolan? This should have been $1 million fine, guys. This should have been $1 million. There's no question. Everybody I talk to, everybody I text message, people who know what they're talking about, it's $1 million is $1 million is $1 million. The NHL did not want to start a war because they've had enough bad press, although I'm not sure they view it that way. This would look really rinky-dink if they did.
Well, so, everyone watched the game, didn't they?
Oh, I watched it.
Everyone watched the game. Well, if it's so bad, why'd everyone watch the game?
Have we shifted over to that now?
No, I don't know.
We're not getting into that.
Because that's
okay,
a whole
you tell me what we're doing, because there are a thousand conversations.
I would like you to respond to what I just stated.
I already said they should have got more than $1 million, or they should have got more than $250,000.
Do you agree with my point of view on that, or do you think?
No, of course I do. Of course I do. And the NHL doesn't want to start a war.
There it is.
They'll lose it. It's the Rangers. You need them. You got an agreement coming up with ESPN. Well, not an agreement coming up. It's beginning, right? And you want it to go well. And like he's wild enough to emotionally fire Jeff Gorton and John Davidson. And that's 100% what he did. It's 100% what he did. Please stop lying to us. Even
Brooksy today, I read his column. I was like, even Brooks is like, oh no, that had nothing to do with it. Dolan wants them to the rebuild to be over now.
You're a liar. I don't think he's a liar. I don't think any of the insiders are a liar. I do think they are regurgitating what they're told. I do believe that Dolan was probably okay. Listen, if you're unhappy with the way the Rangers are developing, you're emotional. You're being emotional about this. That's ridiculous. There are legitimate things to criticize. So have we moved on to management then?
Sure, go ahead.
There are legitimate things to criticize with the Rangers. They're spending a absolutely wild amount of money on players who are no longer playing for them. The Tony DeAngelo situation related to that was an utter fiasco. Not to mention that he played 3 games for them after signing an extension, and they knew he was an asshole. Like, they could not be surprised when the asshole began to act like an asshole. So there are legitimate things to criticize, but for the love of God, Buchnevich, Kravtsov, Lafreniere, Kako, even though that's been a work in progress, the 2-headed young monster that they have in net, getting Artemi Panarin, Zibanejad, Adam Fox, for God's sake, is probably in the Norris conversation.
He's going to lose it to Hedman and he's going to get robbed because he should have the Norris.
Yeah, and it'll be because he didn't make the playoffs.
Well, his name's not Victor Hedman.
And
that's the only reason, anyways.
But okay, and the Rangers are not tough enough, is the criticism you're seeing. And Mark Messier was saying it. It's amazing. It's amazing how often the guys who played in a lawless era seem to think that the solution is people who play without laws. It's simply amazing.
But Steve, would you not agree that we are in a lawless era?
Oh, 100%. And this is the broader conversation that I guess we're going to get to. But also, it's a problem that is probably more easily solved than firing your GM who helped rebuild this team from ash and your president who's been there for 2 years. He's been there for 2 years. You make a couple signings because you're the friggin' Rangers, and all of a sudden you don't have that problem anymore. They're not even the softest team in the league. They're just not as tough as the Caps, which I quickly realized at the beginning of last night's game.
They're big.
There were, 7 fights or 6?
Yeah. And none of them involves Zdeno Chara, who could literally kill a man. Like, that was the guy pushing people to decide. Zdeno was scary in the playoffs.
Zdeno Chara, Tom Wilson, who did fight. Brendan Dillon is a problem too. Ovechkin is enormous and will truck you, but he wasn't in that game. Anthony Mantha, who would have loved to fight, but got a little bit of his, and I'm sure we'll get to that in the 1,000 things that there are to get to. That went as good as anybody with the Rangers or Caps or League could have hoped for. No one appears to be seriously hurt. Wilson did leave the game with an upper body injury. I'll choose to believe them. I know a lot of people are rather skeptical about that. I did rewatch the fight. He punched Brendan Smith's helmet really, really, really.
But you take him out of that game to protect his well-being.
Yes, 100%.
Everyone's.
Yeah, he
That's
fought.
his suspension.
That's good. He's in there. Now bring him out. Here's his suspension. You got to sit 2 periods. You're down a man. Like, that's it. Just let him sit.
But not like the players will settle it on the ice. The New York Rangers gave Tom Wilson a 1-game suspension.
Yeah.
They did.
Except he got paid for it.
And he got paid for it. Yeah, you're right. And he didn't forfeit.
Yo, straight up, the best villains in the world always stack the deck in their favor, and Tom Wilson's a great villain. He knows that the NHL won't do anything about the way he plays the game. And so what Tom Wilson does that is genius and brilliant, and I have a ton of respect for it as a strategy, is he makes you play his game. Tom Wilson doesn't need to play. I mean, Tom Wilson can. I mean, he's got 33 points. Like, he's a good player, very good player. But Tom Wilson makes you play to what Tom Wilson wants you to make. No one's making Tom Wilson play their game.
I disagree.
No, I mean, Steve, like, listen, he punched Buchnevich in the head and grabbed Panarin's hair and threw him to the ice. And Buchnevich is the one who's going to get a suspension today.
No, I know, but I don't think he's a criminal mastermind. I think he's a bully who's enabled by the league. And this doesn't mean he has to be a bad person off the ice.
No, he's not.
You know, you can send me every charity thing he's ever done, every puppy he's ever kissed. Great. Good for him. Listen, you can't do the things he does. Stop with the whataboutism. What about Crosby? What about, let's have that conversation later. We're having this one. This is a repeat offender. He was given supplemental discipline, and it didn't reflect the fact that he's a repeat offender. That's nonsense. And as for Pavel Buchnevich, he's going to get, I think, 2 games. We'll fucking see, because this is George Paros's first hearing since the team that Buchnevich plays for asked for him to be fired.
Oh yeah.
So now
there's a party that can judge something, as a third party, uninterested party.
Bettman should show some leadership and step in here and do it himself.
Yeah. George should recuse himself. Just pull yourself out of it.
It's unreasonable to expect George Paros to be impartial here.
All right.
And I'm saying that in defense of George Paros. It's unreasonable to say he's going to be impartial here.
Since we're talking about the fights, can we talk about the part where people are defending the fights because it got people to watch? Like when I was at work today, there's a guy who does the midday shows. His name is Miles. He's from overseas. He's from England. And he doesn't watch hockey. And he asked me, "Hey, did you see the all the fights in hockey last night?" And I was like, "Yes, that's a hockey thing that happened." Because it brought in the casual audience that every entertainment source wants. Like, if you're making entertainment, you don't just want the hardcores. You want casual people who aren't really invested to find out about your product, because then they may become invested, and that's how you gain fans. So the NHL last night gained a whole bunch of casual audience because of violence and because they had all of these fights. Which side of that did you guys fall on? Because that was a huge argument on Twitter last night of, hey, is it good for the game because so many people are now watching, or is it terrible because we don't want this?
Well, first of all, the casual fan who's going to see that and then stick around, it does not exist. That's not a person who exists in this world. That's a window shopper. That's everyone. That's a rubbernecker. We've all sat next to that person in traffic. We've gone, what the hell is the holdup up here? And it's a car pulled over because of a flat tire or something, and some asshole at the front of the line is holding up the entire region because they have to look at this person. And what kind of haircut do they have? What kind of car? How can I involve myself in this situation? That person's never coming back. They're never giving you their money, NHL. So knock it off with that. Second of all, fights get people to watch. Forget the Rangers, forget the Capitals. let's pick a shitty game that no fan would want to watch. The Devils and Sabres. Outside of the Devils and Sabres, obviously.
And it has to be on a nondescript night, like a Tuesday.
A Devils Sabres night on a Tuesday.
9 p.m. start.
9 p.m. start.
Because it's got to suck shit all the way through.
Everything about it has got to suck. But new rule. Jeff Bezos bought the NHL, and he's lost his mind, and he's decided new rules. And the first game with the new rules is this Tuesday night, 9 p.m. game between the Devils and Sabres, and they no longer get to play with hockey sticks. They have to use rubber chickens. Who's not watching that? Who is not tuning into that? Please make it the noisy kind that dogs play with. Oh, here he comes, Sam Reinhart with the slap shot. Like, I would
the ones from TikTok.
Yeah.
It would lead ESPN. It would lead Sportsnet. It would lead TSN. It would lead every show in the morning. Everyone loves a freak show. If you told me kicking was allowed in the NHL, you can just kick whoever the fuck you want. You can just kick them with skates on.
No.
Who's not tuning into that just to see the horror that is about to happen? So
I might not watch that one.
That you could count me out for that.
You're absolutely watching that one.
No.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Nope. Too much blood.
You're not going to watch it for long, but you are going to tune in to see the start of it.
Okay.
Like everyone else did. Okay.
The point.
So this does not sell your product. This doesn't keep people here. And it's the NHL's obsession with trying to woo people who will never be theirs. Never be theirs. They're there for the freak show. They're not there for the long haul. Fuck likes, give me loves. Those people don't love you, NHL. Stop it. Stop it. They don't love you.
If I might weigh in on the same question before we move on.
Sure, yeah.
Unless I was
just going to follow up, but I'll ask it after your point. It'll be okay. It'll be just as relevant.
So here's to add on to what Steve is saying. For the fights to have brought in a new audience that would stick around, because the NHL doesn't give a fuck about one night of good ratings. I can guarantee you that. I've been working for major broadcasters for 15 years. One good ratings day doesn't do anything for you. Absolutely nothing. You know why? Because the inventory is already sold. You need to you sell on week-long blocks, month-long blocks, 3-month-long blocks, year-long blocks. Where are you in the trending sort of thing? Are you trending up? Are you trending down? What's the long-term thing? Because that's what advertisers are looking for. So no one gives a shit about a one game that has a pop in ratings. Trust me, no one cares. Beyond that, for the casual fan or somebody who's never watched before to stick around, the game would have actually had to be good. The game was awful. It meant nothing. The hockey was pretty fucking terrible.
Oshie's hat trick was cool.
Hold on, I'm getting to that. The Oshie thing matters a little bit if they explain it a little more on the broadcast, which they did not. And B, they didn't at the beginning, because obviously the focus wasn't on that, and I can understand why he gets a hat trick. That's emotional. It's amazing. But beyond that, okay, so there's that story and there's the fight story, but the hockey itself is what you're trying to sell people on. I want to watch the puck go this way and that way and this way and that way. Boy, does that keep me on the edge of my seat. And anybody that's been to a hockey game, any hockey fans, if you're listening to the show, you're a hardcore hockey fan, because who seeks out a podcast about hockey? That's niche. And yet, none of the actual play was that good. It wasn't compelling. It wasn't exciting. It was
I kept waiting for the next fight.
100 exactly. And and by the way, hats off to TJ Oshie. We'll get to that in a second. Take that out of it for a moment, because that really is its own story unto itself. The game sucked. If you want people to be sold on your product, I'm not even saying don't fight. I'm just saying a clown show ain't going to get them.
It's not,
especially when you follow it up. It's like a one-hit wonder in music. You got this great Lou Bega, Mambo No. 5. What's Lou Bega's second hit? Oh, that's right. He didn't have one and nobody stuck around. Do you see what I'm saying? Name any one-hit wonder. Anyone.
It's hard for me.
It's hard,
because
right?
This is the internet, and someone's going to be like, actually.
Yeah, well, no one stuck around for Lou Bega. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. It's that one hook. Oh, we got him now. No, you don't. You don't.
Adam, you know how many hits Lou Bega had?
How many hits did Lou Bega?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
All right, that was good.
Sorry, that was terrible. That's terrible. All right, everyone can turn the show off. I'm turning red.
The point I'm trying to make is if you want to hook people, hook them with a product that's consistently good. And consistently consistent, as in fans know what to expect. We just don't.
I'm embarrassed.
Meaningless bullshit hockey games. Jesse, go ahead. Sorry with your question.
No, there's a lot of defense around if you're counting page views, media talk as revenue. You know, because if they're talking about it, it's at least it's generating some sort of noise around your game, and those impressions are worth something in the marketplace. It's free advertising for your hockey game. At least more people are saying the words NHL after last night is the other side of it. But I'm
tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't agree with it for sure.
Here's the thing:
like I'm not
NBA makes it into your timeline every day. Makes it in your timeline every day. Mm-hmm. The NFL, when it's on, makes it in your timeline every day. The NHL, this is the one time this year.
And if it was announced, hey, you got to tune in because LeBron James is going to throw hands with Kevin Durant tonight.
Jesus.
I am watching.
Sure.
Who is not watching? That doesn't mean it should be part of your sport. And this, so let me get to Pavel.
Steve, if F1 drivers got out of the car and fought each other midway through the race as a part of their pit stop. So you have to get out of the car, so you have to physically punch each other before you can get back in the car and get. Would you watch it?
You can look up NASCAR fights. That's a thing.
Well, that's
I know that I need to watch that F1 show.
You do.
I've seen every F1 fight ever. I've never seen an F1 race, and it didn't compel me. Why didn't I stick around? Oh, because most of it is driving. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they still had to play a game.
Right.
They should be able to, like, you know how the captains get together and they have their little discussion with the ref? They should be able to parlay and, like, come to an agreement. We're playing a 20-minute game tonight. They should be able to. Why was that game 3 periods? What a waste of time. Like, we're having a 20-minute game tonight. There's going to be a fight every 2 minutes. Hopefully one of us scores a goal. It doesn't go to overtime, and we go home with some frozen peas. Like, seriously, it was a waste of a game.
That was Greg Wyshynski's argument, by the way, Jesse, when the one you brought up about
yes.
The fights drawing eyeballs. And somebody wrote back, I love podcasts about true crime. Should I encourage more true crime?
Can I read the tweet? This is the argument I've been alluding to, is the one Wyshynski's been making for the last 24 hours when he said, this is an absolute embarrassment to the sport, said everyone watching a game they'd otherwise ignore in order to see how the sport would be embarrassed.
Rubber chickens.
Well, I think Greg knows what Greg's doing. I think Greg knows
dying 1,000 deaths on this hill.
I think Greg.
I love Greg.
I don't think Greg.
What happened yesterday?
I don't believe that Greg believes that. There's no way. No. I think Greg took an angle, and I love Greg. We've met Greg. We've had Greg on the show. He's awesome. Don't believe that he believes that, and I would be shocked if he really did.
I mean, if you're gonna be something, be it all the way. But I didn't understand that. I didn't understand. Just
difference of opinion, right?
Now, fighting is part of hockey. What's the penalty for?
5 minutes.
5 minutes.
Yeah, but why? What is it for? Why do they give it to you?
Cool the situation down to prevent line brawls, probably.
Yeah.
But it's part of hockey. Why are you penalizing me for something that's part of hockey?
Well, it's a penalty.
Mm-hmm.
You know? It's like hooking. You could say hooking is a part of a hockey, but it's a penalty.
Not. Are fouls part of basketball? No, it's a foul.
Yes. No, it's a part of the sport. It's defined in the rules. As, hey, when you do this action, it's a foul.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Hold on. Could it be, sorry, Jesse, is it that the play isn't a part of the sport, which is why the foul exists?
Yeah. Why do they stop the play then? There should be, you know what should have happened? It should have been 3 fights off the opening face-off, and then Chara and Jensen play 2-on-2 against whoever the 2 Rangers were. It's part of the game. What'd you stop the play for? Is it because of all the equipment on the ice? You don't want someone to trip and fall? I don't understand. So it's not part. Now, wait, it is not part of it. right? So if I don't want to participate in it, I shouldn't have to. The refs trying to game manage called a 10-minute misconduct on Kevin Rooney for literally doing an impression of Tom Wilson. Or at least, unless there's something we don't know about that, and he mouthed off and said something, they gave him a 10-minute misconduct to cool the situation down. Where were they when Mantha was going at Buchnevich?
Yes.
It was right in front of the ref. Watch the replay, right in front of him. He's tapping him on the leg. He's tapping him on the ass. And if you watch, right before they collide, Mantha's getting his stick up. Why? To hand it to him? No. Buchnevich got there first is why he's getting suspended. And he got him high. You can't cross-check guys in the face. But if you're Pavel Buchnevich and you don't want to fight and no one's going to stop this player from fighting you, what are you supposed to do? John Scott, that exhibition game where Randy Carlyle single-handedly set the Leafs back several years, getting David Clarkson a 10-game suspension by endangering his best player in a preseason game, the brainwave. John Scott said, whoever you put out over the boards, whoever you put next to me at the next face-off, I'm grabbing and I'm fighting them. Randy Carlyle throws out Phil Kessel.
Was that to challenge John Scott on that?
So
to say
Scott,
he won't do it?
Here's what happened in that game. Jamie Devan was the Leafs' big guy. He was a prospect. And John Scott, if I remember the story correctly, said, listen, if you're going anyone tonight, you're going me. Because those are two big boys. Devan's like 6'5". Scott's, 6'7", 8. Something like that. Devan gets into a fight. And it's not with Scott. It's with someone else. One of the kids on the Sabres. And Devan starches him. Knocks him out cold. So Scott's livid. Because I told you, if you're going anyone tonight, it's me. And now, I don't see Colton Orr. I don't see Fraser McLaren. I don't think either was dressed in that game. So John Scott goes, all right, whoever you put over the boards next, I'm going.
Did he say that out loud to the bench?
Did that out loud to Randy Carlyle. He's told the story 1,000 times. He said it out loud to Carlyle. Carlyle smirks and throws out Phil Kessel. Puts Kessel right next to him. And John Scott goes, okay, he's trying to call my bluff. And he tosses his gloves like confetti. Now, Kessel does not want to fight John Scott. Understandably. And to be honest, I don't actually know what John Scott would have done to Phil Kessel. I think truly in my heart of hearts, I don't think he would have hurt him.
No.
I don't think that's in his nature.
No.
But you don't know that. If you're Phil Kessel, you don't friggin' know that. He does not want to fight John Scott. So what is he supposed to do? I don't have to fight you because it's not part of the game. It's not. And the refs let that get out of hand. And the league let it get out of hand long before that. Make hockey violent again, George. Bask in it, buddy. This is you.
Breaking news. This important PSA is brought to you by Manscaped.com. This is your pubic service announcement and the news you've all been waiting for. The Manscaped engineering team has now confirmed that we have successfully created the Lawnmower 4.0. It's a trimmer, which is now available for purchase in the USA and right here in Canada. This new trimmer was just released only moments ago, and we are one of the first to get our hands on it and share the news. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer to you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SDP at manscaped.com. Now, I'm one of the first people to try the new 4.0. And let me just say, I am blown away by the experience, the craftsmanship, the detail. It feels like a 4.0. You know what I'm saying? Their advanced ceramic blade and skin-safe technology is so good, it almost seems as though Manscaped worked with engineers to ensure that your area would be safe. You could send it to space and it'd be fun. Yeah, actually, I gotta be honest with you, it works really great. So I would highly suggest that you go to manscaped.com and get free shipping and get 20% off. And all you have to do is use the code SDP. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code SDP. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for your tool. And he likes that. Steve, he would give you the thumbs up right now. By the way, Just so I think what's important to here is obviously we know that, Peros had the opportunity to suspend Tom Wilson. You did. And do any of the fights happen last night if Tom Wilson isn't playing? Probably not, to be honest with you. Maybe one.
Maybe
but I don't
one.
see it. But the Rangers are not a fighting team. Like, they're just not. They don't have the players. And you saw that the Caps basically dominated their show every fight. I mean, you got to give some credit where credit's due. But it was, listen, the scales were tipped Capitals from the beginning. And the Capitals won like they should have. They're bigger, they're stronger, they're meaner. My point in saying all of this is, what did the NHL gain from not suspending Tom Wilson other than a bunch of goofy fights that we knew the Rangers were going to lose anyway?
No, Adam, I'm a casual fan, and I'm staying with the NHL forever because I got to see Ryan Strome fight. Can we get a grip? Can we get real? That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. If it was sustainable, that'd still be the way it is, right? We have every game takes 4 hours the way it did in the 80s. Man, back when it was legal to see my family, my uncle used to show me stuff in black and white from like the 50s. And while it's a fun YouTube clip, I can't imagine that just being life. Every game takes 4 or 5 hours. The police come on the ice. And by the way, literally, I've seen clips of police coming on the ice.
Yeah.
The idea that this used to never happen is, I think, the biggest lie the sport tells. The elbows from Messier, the elbows from Howe, the stick swinging incidents. Bill Guerin swung his stick at Peter Forsberg's face in a game. He swung his stick at a teammate's face in practice.
A rookie, by the way, a rookie.
Maurice Richard was suspended in the final for, I believe it was breaking his stick over a guy's head. And Claude, I just happened to watch the Brian Burke, the Hey Berkey clip on him suspending Claude Lemieux for games in the final for his hit on Draper. And he was worried because it's the first time a guy got suspended in the final since Richard. But it's the biggest lie this sport tells, that none of this used to happen. The reason people didn't stand up to the Broad Street bullies, who would literally just 3-on-1 beat the shit out of you, gang assault on the ice sanctioned by the league, is because no one could. No one could. If you just dress a team of 20 dudes designed to beat the shit out of you, and I don't mean play heavy hockey like the 2012 Kings, I mean beat the shit out of you. If 2 or 3 of them have a decent wrist shot, they're going to win the game because you're half dead. Like the Philly flu.
It's real.
It's real because
about that.
Yeah, and those players aren't cowards. The players who didn't want to play in that, they're not cowards. How dare you? How dare you? You get up every day and volunteer to get 3-on-1 by 3 dudes bigger than you. Are you joking? What is it? My whole timeline was just dudes who need therapy. Like, for the love of God.
Listen, I want to say this. I think hockey is a violent game. And I think it's a high-speed game.
Yep.
And I don't want, my personal opinion is I don't want that to go. And I understand when you have, you see it in any level of the game, any gender of the game, you see punches, angry words or whatever, because you're fired up. And you want to kill someone, not kill, but you know what I mean?
I've heard stories of the Canadian and American women's teams like squaring up in a parking lot. Like there is heat in this sport.
Yes. We like that. The problem becomes, for the NHL, number one is lawsuits later on. The NHL constantly has lawsuits. Number two, it's a credibility issue. I mean, if you want to have some fun, go back and look up all the NHL emails that had to be put out in a deposition regarding hits to the head and concussions in the early last decade, like 2011, 2012. Colin Campbell, besides emailing a ref directly and saying, hey, stop calling penalties on my son like that, which he did.
It's amazing that Campbell, it's good on the league for firing Campbell after that.
He's still there.
Oh, he's still there?
Yeah.
Oh, he's still there a decade later. Good league. Good league.
The emails are quite shocking. And like he emails Brian Burke back and goes, the guy fell on his head on his own. It's his own fault, blah, 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 blah. Like it's just some pretty nasty kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. The issue becomes what is the game, and is the NHL credible in what it's doing? You got to look at it like, and this is a really kind of not great way to look at it, but this is the way to look at it in this particular instance. You have to look at the NHL player, any NHL player, as an asset. And if you, like, let's say you have a Lamborghini and you take that Lamborghini to a dirt track and you blow it off a bunch of hills and flip it over, you now have a depreciating asset. You're now hurting your Lamborghini. Artemi Panarin is a Lamborghini, or he's a Ferrari. He is one of the top players in the entire world. Taking him out of the game, even if it's for a shitty Rangers team that's not making the playoffs, with your number one franchise, your number one player on your number one franchise, that is not good for the game. It's not good. And
Panarin jumped him.
Panarin was trying to pull Tom Wilson. What was Panarin going to do to Tom Wilson?
Panarin.
What's he going to do?
Panarin, by the way, is like one of the lightest players in the league. He's like $165.
Have you seen him deke out his dog? His dog's almost the same size.
He's trying to pull Tom Wilson off a player he punched while he was down. Right. A play that the NHL deemed bad by fining him. And people are acting like Panarin's this guy who was asking for it.
Right.
Which, oh man, can you believe this team? Buddy got hit and no one even sticks up for them. He did. Panarin's got more stones than almost all of you going after Tom Wilson. And what happened? He got his hair pulled and he's out for the season. And you're calling the Rangers soft. Bunch of people who have never thrown a punch in their life. Oh, I'm just.
So
I get very sick of the conversations in this sport.
Well, for sure. And it's understandable. Like Twitter was just a disaster last night, but it is kind of funny. When you say, hey, listen, I have a problem with this issue, people will label you as you're anti-fighting. And my thing is, listen, I'm not necessarily, occasionally there's going to be a fight. There just is. There's fights in basketball. There's fights in football. People yell at each other in tennis. If they were closer together, they'd probably punch each other out. Tiger Woods was a total dick on the golf course. Super intense, shitty to play with. I'm sure there were guys that wanted to punch Tiger Woods out.
Golf fights? Golf fights would be cool.
But my point is that it's not going to make me watch golf more, honestly. But beyond that,
I think tuning in.
I think when you have a goon fest like what you had last night, as fun as it seems in a vacuum, guys, remember that there were massive lawsuits levied against the NHL. And if I'm James Dolan, who is, again, eccentric, I'm pissed off that the guy I'm paying $10 million to, who is in and this is, again, tough business term, depreciating asset because he's getting closer and closer to retirement every day. I'm pissed off that my $10 million hockey player was slammed to the ice and nothing was done. That's a problem for me. Imagine that happens to Connor McDavid. Imagine it happens to Austin Matthews. Imagine it happens to Sidney Crosby. That's how important Artemi Panarin is to the Rangers and to this league. He is a top 10 player in this league. You have to protect those assets. There's what keep people coming in. And beyond all of that, I think we need to move on to the fact that the Rangers seem to have completely broken at this incident as well. You have this happen one night. The suspension happens. The fine happens the next day. The owner fires the president and the general manager before the game.
I almost forgot.
And then the guy who originally got punched in the head is going to get suspended this afternoon.
All right.
Yep.
The Rangers.
Tom Wilson broke the Rangers.
He broke the Rangers.
Yeah.
He did.
The organization as a whole.
Yeah. 100%.
He did. Tom Wilson did to the Rangers what the Bruins did to the Canucks, but in a single night.
Yeah, it's true.
Seriously. Did that 2011 series not set that organization back to still where it is today?
It's like the 2013 Leafs versus the 2013 Bruins. Set them back 5 years.
At least. They spent half a decade trying to become the 2013 Bruins.
Yep.
And did a very shitty job.
Yeah, because it's
very shitty job.
Because that was a good Bruins team that took 6 years to get there.
Yeah, a team built on toughness went to the playoffs and played against another team played on toughness and discovered they weren't very good.
And here's the next problem. Chris Drury, we know is a great asset to the Rangers. I believe he was one of the front runners for the job in Pittsburgh. They wanted to keep him. He didn't want to leave New York. They gave him more money, made him associate GM. Now he's the president GM. Glenn Sather's back. Rangers fans are quaking in their boots that Glenn Sather's back. Although, and if you were to ask most Ranger fans, they're probably telling you, no, this rebuild's not over. We're not done yet.
There are 36 hockey jobs.
Right. And my point in saying this is that the Rangers are now going to go fuck up because of this.
Yep.
That's what I think is going to happen.
Yep.
You got.
That'll be their fault.
Sure. And they've jumped from 26th to, I believe, 14th or something in the NHL.
That's the thing. They're not even bad. They're getting jobbed by being in the best division in the league.
Yeah. They would have made the playoffs if this was a regular, normal, non-COVID season.
It's a good team. And now, I mean, Chris Drury's a smart guy, so I think I got a little bit. I'm a little worried about Glenn Sather's influence. I think his views are dated.
Dolan.
I think Mark Messier is aiming for a hostile takeover. Like, I feel bad for the Rangers head coach, because obviously they asked Mark Messier before the broadcast yesterday, do you think you could coach this team, Mark? What the fuck is Mark Messier going to say? Of course he's going to say yes.
They're going to sell the farm.
I would have beat some guys up and blah, 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 blah. Well, of course Mark Messier is going to say that. Yeah. And I think Mark Messier is angling for a job. So they're going to fire head coach, GM, and president in one season. It's going to happen.
They're going to sell the farm for Eichel.
You think so?
Yep.
Oh, that's a good idea.
No, it's super not. Like, it's dude.
Super fun though.
It's super fun.
I like it.
That'll get me to pay attention. Holy shit! You traded 2 of your top young guys plus 1,000 picks and Pavel Buchnevich, because irony's fun, for Jack Eichel.
We could do a 90 minutes on Eichel to the Rangers.
Oh yeah.
That's fun.
Dangle's there.
I hope it happens. That's a great idea.
No, but here's we keep getting away from Wilson. Who's next?
In terms of,
what do you mean?
Who's he going to hurt next?
Oh, well,
who's he going to hurt next? And what's it going to be? Is he going to punch a guy while he's down? Is it going to be a charge? Shoulder to the head.
It'll happen in the playoffs, and it'll happen in the playoffs because the Caps are going to the playoffs, and Wilson will take advantage of the rules in the playoffs because for some reason refereeing doesn't exist in the playoffs, and he's going to get away with it again.
It's going to be either the Bruins or the Islanders, guys. So who do you think is going to be, and which player?
Probably against the Islanders. Do they play? They're going to play them in the first round, right?
Well, there's only a point separation between Boston and New York right now. So, and the New York Islanders have played one more game, so Boston really has more of an advantage there. But it's not that much.
Yeah, and he'll get away with it because refereeing is crooked in the NHL, and they referee however they want to referee that night. And if they don't feel like calling it, and they feel like, oh, I didn't see that, then he's going to get away with something because it's the playoffs.
And the way they call the game is extremely effective for players like Tom Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
They don't call the game to benefit Crosby, McDavid, Matthews, Panarin, whoever you want to say that's a superstar. They ref the game to benefit the tough guys. We've talked about this before, but if you're only going to call 3 penalties aside on one team, that means that the tougher of those 2 teams has the advantage. If you're saying we're going to call an even penalty game, the tougher of those teams has the advantage because they are, by rights, going to be a little bit dirtier, a little bit chippier, a little bit this and that and whatever. Like, and it's funny. That's what benefits the tougher teams. It's like, well, I only got my 3 shots to call these guys. So once I've used them up, if I'm an NHL referee, I'm going to look like I'm biased.
No matter what happens on the ice, no matter what happens on the ice, the game is called down the middle.
There you go. And that's why tougher teams benefit, because it forces skill teams to play their game.
If you succeed when the rule book is thrown out the window, you're not the best team in hockey, right? And that's what the Stanley Cup is there to decide. Who's the best team in hockey, right? If you're the best team, you should be able to succeed when they call the book, right? But it's just such a goofy sport that's ruled by dudes who don't want to change it.
Well, so
I don't know what else to tell you.
Let's keep going here with this because I love that John Scott actually released a video going, I'm surprised he's not gone for 40 games. Crazy. And Sean Avery put out something on TikTok yesterday. And Sean Avery is a questionable guy as it is.
Okay.
But here's what Sean Avery said.
Before you bring it up, do we need to bring up Sean Avery's TikToks? Like, how deep are we going here?
We're not going that deep. Not going that deep on Sean Avery. Listen, am I saying
think
Sean
he might
Avery
be a bad guy.
Reproach? Am I saying Sean Avery, good guy, Sean Avery?
No,
I don't know.
No,
what are you saying?
were Capitals fans were legitimately upset at Avery and Matt Cook getting a platform in all this, and Matt Cook having anything to say about this is hilarious.
Yeah. What did he say, Steve? Can you paraphrase?
I did not read it.
Okay, good. Now,
Matt Cook's words on this matter do not matter.
I thought Avery made a good point. And I thought it was similar to what John Scott said, which was, listen, Sean Avery's like, you don't go after Tom Wilson. You dump the puck in slowly. You let the goalie come out of the net. He said it was Braden Holtby. Obviously, he's not paying attention. And you just run through him. You just run right through him. And if you want equal and opposite retribution, that's what it's akin to. It's not the Rangers, if they wanted to play this not mischievously, as tough as Wilson versus Panarin, you go after the stars.
And he better not pull this shit against the Bruins or the Islanders because they will do that. They will do that. Whoever's in net that night is going to have a problem. They will do that.
Is the game getting more or less violent? Or which side of the curve are we on?
I don't know.
Generally less.
Yeah,
we spoke about this. I think I nailed this years ago, and I would love to find this clip. Because we were talking about the Tom Wilson contract. Because was it even this Tom Wilson contract? It was something about Tom Wilson. He is the new market inefficiency.
Oh, yeah.
The market inefficiency used to be small, talented guys. Braden Point. There was a time not long ago that Braden Point wouldn't have even gotten a shot. Right? There was a time where he's an afterthought. We're not going to get a guy like him. We don't want a guy like Alex DeBrincat. We don't want a guy like Cole Caulfield. We don't want, you will never draft a Nick Robertson.
Yeah. The archetype for that guy was Marty St. Louis. He kind of invented that guy.
Yes. And before him, it was Theron Fleury. And the reason we remember them is because they're 1 in a million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The small guy never makes it. Then it took a couple teams. This team, that team, and then it was everybody. And then all of a sudden, there's a dozen of these outliers left in the league. There's a Ryan Reeves, there's a Tom Wilson, and you could an aging David Backes, maybe a few years ago. Sort of a David Clarkson. This was much longer ago, obviously.
New Jersey Devils David Clarkson.
Yeah.
New Jersey Devils David Clarkson, I should specify. Yeah. There are these weird outliers. And, if they do a good enough job skating and putting the puck in the net, a guy like Cassian as well, if they do a good enough job, they're just going to run amok because they're the new market inefficiency, right? So now the Rangers are going to go out with the sole intent this summer. I still think Eichel is the big splash, and they're going to go, you know what? We still have Eichel. Even though we just sold the farm, we still have a relatively young team. We're going to get Eichel and several fists, right?
If I'm the Rangers and I have the capital that I have, call Ottawa, call Calgary, ask them how much it costs for each Tkachuk brother. Honestly, Calgary's a mess right now. They are.
Calgary, I think, considers it.
Yeah, I think to me, he's the guy you build the team around. They shouldn't.
Yeah. That's the franchise.
Yeah. By the way, the front office and the head coach, they're gone. They're so gone. Everybody's gone there. But I Ottawa, you might be able to tempt because you'd be like, listen, Ottawa, here's the thing. His contract's going to expire and you're going to have to pay money. Have you considered that? We can give you all of these brand new entry level deals. Ooh.
Ottawa's been on fire, by the way.
Yeah.
Like low key, they've had a great second half of the season.
It's crazy because they have a goalie now, or they have goaltending now.
Yeah.
I do think they're going to catch teams off guard. And they're also, they're a weird mix of, they're supposed to be the break team.
Yeah.
We're going to give you the backup treatment. And they're not as talented as other teams, but they're not bad enough for them to be a break. They try their ass off every game.
I want to let you guys quickly know just an update in the Toronto Marlies game, which Freddie Andersen has started. Yes. 8 minutes into the first period, and it's already 2-0 Manitoba. One through the 5-hole, one just over the blocker.
Oh,
God
no.
damn
It was like right through the 5-hole.
God.
It was vintage Freddie. Vintage. Yeah, It's not good, Steve. It's not.
Oh, no.
Now, he might be rusty, but
He's going to be rusty.
you can't. This is 6-0 against the Bruins in Boston, Freddie Andersen.
When Luke Fox and Myrtle and all the boys down there were tweeting out the photos of Freddie walking out with the team, like I got so jacked. I was like, we're gonna have a tandem of Campbell and Freddie, and then it's gonna be awesome heading to the playoffs. And oof.
And to like give you an idea, like I know it's a small sample size and like AHL conditioning stints should not matter. Dude, they sent Jonas Gustafsson to the Marlies for a conditioning stint and he was unreal. And they sent Jonathan Bernier to the Marlies for a conditioning stint and he was unbeatable. So, oh boy, I'm concerned.
It's 2 shots. It's just 2 shots.
It's 8 minutes.
One
more goal and he's pulled, boys. One more goal and he's pulled.
Oh, God. Anyway.
Growing up, cereal was one of the best parts about being a kid, but I had to give it up because I realized it was full of sugar and junk and the things that you really shouldn't eat. So, like everybody else trying to cut down on carbs and sugar and unhealthy food, I realized I can't just eat everything that I want anymore. So, you have, protein shakes and vegetable shakes and powders and just, ugh. That's why I think you should try the thing that I tried, which is Magic Spoon. 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein so you can get strong, and only net 4 grams of carbs for each serving. And that's only 140 calories per serving. It's keto-friendly. It's gluten-free. It's grain-free. It's soy-free. It's low-carb and GMO-free. The variety pack includes 4 flavors of cocoa, fruity, frosted, and peanut butter. It's absolutely delicious. And if you go to magicspoon.com/STP to grab your variety pack and try it today, well, you get $5 off your first order. Again, use our promo code STP at checkout and get yourself $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com. Again, that's magicspoon.com/STP.
What were we talking about before that?
Tom Wilson, the greatest player ever.
The greatest player ever. No, but like, so I kept talking about Raffi Torres. And I'm not comparing the two.
They're not.
Raffi Torres was out there decapitating guys.
Yeah.
And you might say, well, Wilson did this and Wilson did. No, go back and watch. It's wild. And after a while, the NHL went, we are very all the way done with you.
Mm-hmm. You can't play here anymore.
Yeah. Wilson is just not quite as dirty, and he's too good.
Mm-hmm.
If the NHL has set the precedent that with Torres, a couple things. One, if you keep doing it, we're going to increase the suspension every time. And if you're not good enough, you're done in this league. Wilson has gotten no such treatment. And the one time they tried to give him the treatment, they're like, we're giving you 20 games. And he goes, no, I'm filing an appeal. And Gary Bettman goes, you're getting 20 games. No, we're going to an arbitrator. You get 14. Tom Wilson is acting the way he's been taught to act.
Yeah.
And then there was that little snippet from, is it Carpiniello, the Rangers reporter for The Athletic?
I don't know. Just what is it?
He had the little snippet that supposedly the league did not like the look of not suspending Wilson for his hit on Brandon Carlo. And Peros didn't want to suspend him at all. So the league goes, yeah, well, we don't like the look. You're getting 7 games.
Oh, my God.
There's no...
Wow.
Like, it sounds like Peros was fired when that happened. If he's not making the decisions...
Is James Dolan right?
Yes.
Listen,
Yes.
I do not want to call James Dolan right on anything.
Is that the conclusion?
But yes.
Here's the funny thing about all of this is so little of it is about Tom Wilson. This is the Tom Wilson incident, and yet it's not Tom. It's not even what Tom did. It's the reaction and the things that happened afterwards to what Tom did.
Yeah.
And Steve, you're absolutely right. This is, dude, he's been allowed to do it. Why wouldn't you keep doing it? He's an extremely effective, very good hockey player. Teammates love him. Fans love him. Yep. This is the kind of guy that you keep, but every once in a while he goes berserk and breaks Zach Aston Reese's jaw, or absolutely railroads Oscar Sundquist for no reason in a preseason game. You know, these are the things that, like, you it's so funny because, you know, there'll be a bunch of Cavs fans who listen to this show and they'll be so heated that they're not actually going to hear what we have to say. I'm not mad at Tom Wilson.
They get mad.
I'm mad at Tom. I think it was dumb when he did
this guy. Otherwise, we love each other.
Right. Well, it's not what Tom Wilson did that's really at issue here. It's the NHL's handling of it. And I hate the fact is, and a bunch of people made this point, and they're right. They're like, oh, all of you people out there who are going, heck yeah, Rangers, where were you when they weren't saying anything during Black Lives Matter? Where were their balls then? I agree.
I don't think those two things are even remotely related.
Exactly. Stop conflating them.
Well, what about?
Whataboutism.
What about? You should get what about 69 on the back of your jersey. Like, can we like make ground here?
I also want to
like all whataboutism is it just makes the earth underneath you muck. Let's move forward. Let's talk.
When you compare, let me compare 3 incidences to you guys. Okay. Number 1 is what Tom Wilson with Buchnevich and Panarin. I know the NHL doesn't see them as linked, but they're part of the same issue for me. Number 2, Buchnevich cross-checking Anthony Mantha in the face last night. Number 3, Nazem Kadri cross-checking Jake DeBrusk in the face in the playoffs.
In a game that was wildly out of hand long before that cross-check.
If you were to show each incident to a person that did not know hockey, and then show it to a person who did, but had not seen them somehow, and say, who are you giving the most games to? What do you think the average person says?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to answer that in an unbiased way. I'm going to say Wilson, number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Kadri, number 2. He really cranked him.
He did. I'm not trying to diminish what Kadri did to Jake DeBrusk, to be clear here. I'm just trying to say the reaction to them, very different.
And Buchnevich on Mantha 3. I think.
And who will be suspended the most? Kadri, then Buchnevich, then Tom Wilson.
Wilson can't get lower than 0.
Yeah.
Yes, you can, said the nerds. Oh, shut up.
Tom Wilson, by the way, 3 straight 20-goal seasons. If you, because this season he had 14 goals in 44 games, so that's a 20-goal season in 82.
Great player.
Also,
no one's saying
I also say to every Capitals fan that reached out and said, you'd take him on your team in a heartbeat. Yes, I would.
Yeah, he's a good player.
I'd take Kadri back. Can we have him back?
I'd love him back. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but
it's not a thing.
Yeah, but he's going to get suspended.
Yeah, he got suspended for stuff. I thought it was very funny that Kadri has been trending basically for the past 48 hours.
Well, because it's the obvious parallel, especially in Toronto. I mean, I'm sure to Montreal fans it doesn't mean anything, but like if you're, when we're talking about violent incidences, as the Rangers called it.
With Kadri, though, there was some understanding with it, even within the Leaf fan base, that, well, he does keep doing shit.
Yeah.
So he's no longer going to get the benefit of the doubt. Brendan Shanahan suspended him. And that is another key thing here. Raffi Torres with the increasing suspensions. It ends in 2015. And if I'm not mistaken, that was... No, it couldn't have been Brendan Shanahan in 2015 because I think he was already with the Leafs. But the first bunch were Shanahan.
Mm-hmm.
Wilson and all of his supplemental discipline, if I'm not mistaken, is all George Parros. Maybe not the first 1 or 2, but it's mostly been George Parros. It's his job to get a lid on this.
I don't think he wants to, Steve. I think that's clear. I don't think they want to lid on this.
I don't understand. So I got a couple big yikes because man, you're admitting that you think Wilson should get more because it's Wilson.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Kadri got more because he was Kadri.
When we were talking about it yesterday, I said, well, if OJ was suspected in a murder, you probably look into him because he has a history. When OJ went to jail,
they threw the book at him based on the charges that he was actually given.
If somebody
went to actual jail, it was like, you're not going to jail because you stole some of your artifacts back, OJ. You're going to jail because you're fucking OJ and you got off lucky the first time.
Yeah, they gave him all of these extra charges because they're like, you got away with murder that one time.
Do you know what Al Capone went to jail for, guys? Tax evasion. Yeah. Tax evasion. They gave him 30 years in Alcatraz for tax evasion?
I think you're maybe taking it to a place it doesn't need to.
No, but that's
I know what history. That's it. He has a history.
But that's the point. It's context, right? The context of the person and their actions. That's what we're trying to say here. I'm not. Am I conflating murder with something that happened on the ice? No. And if you think that, you're an idiot.
Al Capone and Tom Wilson are the same person.
Same guy. Yeah.
I get them confused all the time.
Tom Capone. It's its real name.
Al Wilson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at us.
The thing is, look at us being cool.
Look at us.
The point is, I'd also like to move on to something else here quickly. Just want to say this.
Okay.
I appreciate the fact that the Rangers made the statement that they did. I also appreciate the fact that the owner said to the president and the general manager after they apparently, Davidson and Gorton both said to other general managers and officials around the league, we're not a part of this. We didn't know this was happening. Mm-hmm. I actually kind of love the fact that Dolan fired him. And I think the reason is
them, though.
We don't know that. We don't know that. That's not necessarily true.
It's James Dolan, man. He has a personal feud with Spike Lee.
Called the Rangers PR department and said, write this, post this. Doubt it. Davidson would have known. Had to have. And these are the same guys.
Because the social person's
beyond that, though, let's talk about context of this ownership or this management group that aided and abetted everything that Tony DeAngelo did. And Lias Andersen just doesn't want to play for you anymore. And Keandre Miller is exposed to the shit that he's exposed to. And I get you can't really put that on the Rangers, but maybe you kind of can. You can maybe put a moderator into that. There's a bunch of shit that happened with Gordon and Davidson at the helm. Yeah, they had good players. They made good draft picks, all that sort of thing. Sold at the right time, got the right draft picks that you need to get. Yes, I get that. But come on. Let's not pretend that these guys haven't fucked up royally.
I don't hate the firing simply even from the point of you wouldn't come to war with me. Like, I own this team and I'm going to put out this unprecedented statement that no franchise is doing against the guys who run the actual league. And you're not going to come to bat with me. Like, I was like, okay, if you're not going to do this at the height of this controversy, then I'll get somebody else to fucking make trades.
Yeah.
And just for you.
Ironically, like for those two great hockey men, that is a very hockey way of looking at things. From James Dolan.
Oh, yeah.
You wouldn't go to war with me. I don't need you at all. That's probably the most hockey thing that happened here.
Yeah.
But the other hockey thing that happened was somebody did something that wasn't traditional. Yeah. If Dolan put that PR statement out and Davidson and Gordon didn't know about it, the reality is he was fucking right. Peros needs to resign. He needs to resign. This is dereliction of duty. No questions asked. There's no question. And the funny part about this is that these guys, not only did they say we didn't know about it, they said we don't agree with it. We think it's wrong.
That's the key.
So the guy does this to the best player on the team. You went and you tried to sign Artemi. If I'm Artemi Panarin and I find out Jeff Gorton said that, I'd be fucking furious. Mm-hmm. Are you kidding me? Why did I sign here, you asshole? So of course he's out. Of course he's out. I don't blame James Dolan for firing them at all. You can say it was, he's not ready. The rebuild's not over, blah, blah, whatever. James Dolan fired those guys. Exactly what you said, Steve, because that was the last straw. They said, we're not on board, and they undermined him, and they undermined the Rangers organization at a time when the Rangers needed to full force, show force, because they knew they were going to get caved in the next game, and they were going to have to go out and fight anyway.
So here it is. Said Jesse.
First of all, that was Jesse. Second of all, he's
Jesse.
already looking at his team. And what happened with the Wilson thing. And he's punching Buchnevich. And he's taken my star player off the ice, who I pay $11.6 million a season. He's already done that. And he's already looking at his team and already thinking, these guys are not tough enough. They're not ready. And he's got Mark Messier whispering in his ear, fuck yeah, man. They're not tough enough. Never hold a cookie in his head. And shit like that. He's already whispering in his ear.
Glenn said there's like, I'm old and things were good in the 90s.
And then he's looking at his GM and president, and they won't go to war with him? Oh, no. The rot's gone too far. The rot's at the helm. I have weaklings. And he got rid of them. That's 100%. This is an emotional guy. This is a guy who, like, didn't he ban Charles Oakley? Like an actual New York alumni.
And he was wrong. And he got into a fight with Spike Lee. And he got into a fight with Spike Lee. James Dolan's not my hero.
No.
James Dolan once, the board who runs MSG had to call him in because he was going on too many gigs with his dad rock band with his buddies. He has a little band on the side. He's a billionaire. He's running this company, and they're like, you got to stop playing live show with your damn dad rock band, James. Come run this company. So he's not a very stable human.
But he already thinks his team is soft. And then his president and GM are, I write your fucking checks.
Yeah.
And you went behind my back.
Mm-hmm.
Get out.
Mm-hmm.
Get out. You give him the Gerard Gallant treatment. You throw all their shit out the window like it's a bad breakup.
If I ever own a franchise, I want blind faith to the crest.
Yes.
You know, whatever my team is, if I'm the golf balls, you know, I want blind faith to the Toronto golf balls. Like, you better be on board for everything we do.
Yeah, but now Dolan is emotional and vulnerable.
Yes. Call the Rangers, try to make a trade. Well, poor Chris Drury. And now he's got to deal with this emotional James Dolan. And who knows if he's even in charge, because you know what I would do? You know what? All my elbows. You know what I would do? You got Moose. Fuck. That shit doesn't work in Vancouver. But I tell you what, he tells the Oilers or the Rangers anything. He says jump. Everyone around him says how high in New York. Come on. It's Mark Messier. You all saw the Kiprios clip. This is New York City. The Rangers are about to have a very interesting offseason. And by the way, extraordinarily underrated storyline in all this. They got the draft, free agency, and the expansion draft coming up, and they just fired their GM and president. Anyway, good luck, Chris.
Yeah.
Anyway, good luck. There you go. Here's all their scouting reports from guys who haven't been to a game in over a year because they can't. It's a pandemic. Anyway, good luck.
Eichel to New York. They have no captain. Just name him captain day one. Sign and trade captain.
Kevin Adams should just... Hey, Chris, how you feeling? How's the weather in New York? Sorry, I'm not near a computer. I need you to tell me how the weather is. I don't know how to Google things. What are you looking at right now? What are you having for lunch? How much for Eichel, you think? How much for... Ed just work it into every conversation. He's got to call him breakfast, lunch, and dinner. What an interesting situation.
I wouldn't make Jack Eichel captain right away in New York.
I would. Day one.
I would not. Chris Kreider.
Mark Messier would.
Key to the city.
I think you know what? This is going to be unpopular. Jack Eichel hasn't proven anything leadership to me.
Oh, nobody's saying
he's been the honorary GM for like 4 years.
Right, and it's worked out terribly. So maybe don't put him in that position and just make him play some hockey.
Nah.
Which is what he's best at.
Madison Square Eichel.
It's just MS and then his face.
I tell you what, James Dolan is right here. He's going to be wrong real fast.
Yes. And you know what? That's reliable with James Dolan. He usually does fall on the wrong side of the coin.
Yep.
It's usually a bad choice. In this one, unicorn instance. Man, I love that statement from the New York Rangers, baby.
Terrible. The worst person you know makes a great point.
Right? Crazy. It's crazy. Now, so Tom Wilson has broken the New York Rangers. There's no question. Going forward from here, I don't know if there's much more to get to other than Messier is going to coach this team eventually. It'll be game 25
really
next
so?
year. Yeah. Messier was angling in the press yesterday to coach this team. You go watch that interview. Anybody, even read the clips or read the tags from it, the quotes. It's unbelievable how badly Mark Messier wants to coach this team. My favorite thing was, Mess, do you think you can coach this team? And I know I said it earlier. He's like, yes, absolutely. Like, even with no experience, yeah, no problem.
But there's no problem with David Quinn. Like, that's the thing. Like, there's no reason to let him go. So you just
he's taken the team from 26th to 14th, and people are like, well, he's not in the playoffs. But like you guys said earlier, that's the toughest division in hockey. It's crazy. David Quinn's been fine.
It does not make sense.
The best thing the New York Rangers can do is nothing and maybe sign a couple tougher guys. That's the best thing they can do. They got a great young core there. They got 2 great goalies. You give them a non-COVID season with fans in the building and a proper training camp and proper rest, which they're going to get this offseason. I think it's a completely different story next year with the exact same roster.
You do the hardest thing to do with a young team, and we've talked about this as Leaf fans. Wait. Mm-hmm. Just wait. They'll be better next year. Logically, they'll be better next year. Lafreniere will be better. Kakko will be better. Both goalies will be better. Adam Fox will be better. Like, logically, all of that, they're young enough.
I have a question.
I have an answer.
If you're Wayne Simmons right now, coming on the end of your 1-year deal, you're probably looking at the New York Rangers going, okay.
No. If you're Wayne Simmons, all you're doing is concentrating on winning the Toronto Maple Leafs Cup.
Well, that's true. But after that's done.
Well, Adam, that's months from now. He didn't watch that game.
Doesn't know at all. Not aware. Completely not aware. I love Wayne Simmons and I want him to be a Leaf, but I have a feeling the Rangers are going to pay some silly money for tougher
somebody
guys this year.
You know, okay, can I tell you my deepest, darkest fear?
Mm-hmm.
Hyman.
Oh, Steve.
Why did you do that?
Just galaxy brained our sorrow. Oh no.
I got something to be anxious about when the show ends.
I tell you what, as someone who is made of anxiety, dude, I have Catholic guilt and a great memory. How bad do you think my brain is? But Zach Hyman, that fear did occur to me. I will put money down he's a Leaf next year. I'll put money on it. I will. He'll be a Leaf next year. However, I'm just saying. Could happen. Could happen.
Stop it.
Don't put anything past an emotional dumb team with a lot of money.
Stop it.
A lot of emotional dumb teams do not have the money. They do. Very interesting situation.
I would just like to read out a tweet before we get to the press conference here. This comes from Account for Hockey. Our boy Jay, who we love. He said, a lot of you are overreacting to a small sample size of one period in the AHL. I, on the other hand, won't be judging Freddie Andersen until he plays a full season in the AHL next year.
Oh, no.
Now, listen,
I got to tell you, great follow. Nick Barden, Barden
great
on Twitter. He's posting all the gifts from the Marlies game. It's amazing what a different league it is. Martin Marincin flying in. He's toe dragging dudes. Dude, he looks like the fastest player on the ice. It's unbelievable.
When you watch AHL hockey, you're like, oh, NHLers are actually so much better.
They're wildly better. Oh my, I can't believe the highlights I'm watching. Nick Barden on Twitter, I'm telling you. Anyway,
also, some breaking news from Chris Johnson. The AHL's Board of Governors has approved the Canucks affiliate move from Utica to Abbotsford, which will be a lot easier for the Canucks. It makes a lot more sense.
Long overdue.
Well, and now with the pandemic happening, you sort of like now you understand you have to.
Yeah, and when they closed the Utica branch in back in 08, and then they had to move to Scranton, it was tough.
Yeah. Jim brought back a girlfriend, didn't last long.
There's Karen Filippelli walking in, taking Pam's spot. Ugh, nobody liked it.
By the way, I was team Karen on that one. I like Karen Filippelli.
What?
Yeah, I'm not a Pam fan.
You would be Team Karen.
Yeah, you would pick the worst character on the show.
Pam is the worst. She has an affair with the audio man.
She doesn't have an affair. That's not what happened.
A take as cold as your jeans.
Yeah. For as terrible as Pam is in retrospect, Karen is still the worst in every way.
Why do you think she's the worst? I mean,
her personality sucks. It comes
she
down
just
to
loves
that.
Jim. That's all she did. She just loved him.
She also makes him stay up all night to argue with him about nothing.
Oh, okay. That sucks ass. Yeah.
Did you mention who Utica is now the farm team of?
Canucks. Oh,
No,
sorry.
that's Abbotsford.
Utica's? Oh, I don't.
Kraken?
The Devils. They just signed a 10-year affiliation agreement. I got that from Ben Burnell.
But they're moving. Okay. So it's Bingham. It's in New York to Utica, New York. Okay, that makes a lot more sense, right? Like, why fly across the country to go play for the Canucks when you don't have
different city? Fine. Across the continent, it's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense.
Way more
across the continent and across a border. Like, that makes no sense for the Canucks.
Let us do the conference depress.
All right.
What interferes with your happiness? It's kind of a deep question. But if you're feeling like you're going through days that should be happy, that you should be enjoying, but you're not, might be time to check out BetterHelp. Now, I can tell you from my experience as a guy who's been through, mountains of therapy and have done it for over 10 years, it's an enormous help. It changes your life. And all you have to do is take that first step. Now, with BetterHelp, it's kind of cool because BetterHelp will connect you in a safe and private environment with somebody within 48 hours. You can send your therapist a message anytime. And again, remember, this is not a crisis line. It's not self-help. This is professional counseling. And you're going to get timely and thoughtful responses to all the things that you want to do. You can schedule weekly video and phone sessions. All you have to do is sit in your room, whatever's most comfortable for you, and you can connect with somebody online. And we're talking licensed professional counselors who are specialized in all sorts of areas, such as depression, stress, anxiety, relationships, sleeping, trauma, anger, family conflicts, LGBTQ plus matters, grief, self-esteem. Anything that you share is confidential, and you should absolutely check this out. It's convenient, it's affordable, and most importantly, it's the best investment you can make in yourself. So we want to offer you the ability to start living a happier life today. As a listener of the Steve Dangle podcast, you're going to get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/SDP. Join over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health. Again, that's betterhelp, HELP.com/SDP.
The Presser, SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
I'm not even going to read my DMs tomorrow, guys. Just throwing that out there. Not even going to read them.
Because
me neither. Because I don't have them open like a sadist.
Sorry, Jesse, go ahead.
Because Steve loved his segment so much.
I was so proud.
Do you know? Do you want to tell the people how many times in a row you watched yourself answer
500. 500.
Jesse.
No, but Jesse, your shocked reaction. I was literally splitting it between watching your shocked reaction and Adam's genuine wow. I sent it to CJ and he goes, "You're ill." I sent it to Colby Armstrong, who goes, "You're a freak." And I go, "You were in that game. What was it like?" He goes, "Was I?" And I had to inform him, unfortunately, that he was a -2.
What's it?
Elliot Friedman who called me a freak. I sent it to Ben Scrivens, who called me a freak.
No, that's not who I want to know from. What did Tina say?
Oh,
my mom?
TG.
Yes.
I don't remember what she said, but my dad was like, "Don't you dare ever tell me you've forgotten something ever again."
That's an excellent dad response. That's 10 out of 10.
I had to unfortunately respond to my father. It only works with Leaf games. Literally, that's it. That's all I got it for. That's all it works with.
That's funny. Oh, well. Okay, so let's do it again.
Okay.
Let me just pull up this DM. This is from listener David Ferguson.
I love this game.
Okay. Steve, can you remember what happened February 21st, 2009? The Leafs played the Canucks.
I think I do.
He did it. He did it.
February 21st, 2009.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's what I wanted for this game. Here's the only 3 details I need. The opponent, the date, and Jesse, do you have the game number?
Of the season?
Yes.
Okay, give me half a second. I will do this while
I think I know, but I don't know the final score.
Game number of the season. So the Leafs were 21.
Was it a Saturday?
Plus 26 plus 12. It was the 59th game of the season.
Jesus.
59th game. What day of the week was it?
What day of the week?
Was it a Saturday?
It was a Saturday. It was hockey night in Canada. Saturday night.
Okay, so
the game was. Do you want to know where it was, or no?
I think it was in Toronto.
Okay, Air Canada Center, I guess. Do your thing.
I think it was in Toronto. I don't know the final score.
Oh,
but is that the game where Dominic Moore got a breakaway without a stick?
I honestly can't tell you if that happened in that game, but that is not
YouTube Dominic Moore no stick.
Okay. That's not the main storyline from the game. I can tell you that right now.
2009. So the Canucks would have been really good. Kessel was not on the team yet.
You know what?
Is that the game where Dominic Moore got a breakaway with no stick?
That was the Dominic Moore stickless breakaway.
Hey! Oh my God.
Do you know why that game is brought up though? That's unbelievable that you remember that alone. You get the point for this round alone on that fact, but there is a bonus point, if you will.
Was that also the game? Wait, let me think about this. 2009. Was that also the game that Sundin won it in a shootout?
That was Matt Sundin's first game as a Canuck against the Leafs, and he won it in a shootout. Well done, Steve.
Oh my God.
That's unbelievable.
Forgot that happened. Fucking Sundin wins it in a shootout against the Leafs. The Leafs are the worst. Why do we choose this team?
Hey, Adam.
Oh.
Adam, you began your sentence by saying, I forgot that happened. Steve remembered based on the date alone. He also remembered a freaking breakaway with no stick.
Dominic, I played her 2 times and did nothing more.
You're a weird guy, Steve. I don't know why. You remembered all of that.
Oh my God.
I love this game. I love it. Oh, I love it. Oh, thank you, boys. Thank you. I love this game very much. I don't remember the final score. What was the final score?
3-2 in that shootout.
In the shootout, obviously.
Yeah.
Imagine if Moore had scored by kicking it or something. Oh, right. That's friggin' funny, man.
I'm all done, gentlemen.
I can't believe it.
Is that it for the show? Are we all done?
I'm all done.
Okay, well, I'm exhausted. I hope you guys are too. Holy shit. I'm so ready to put this behind us and get into whether Freddie Andersen is a good goalie anymore or not. That'll be next on the Steve Dangle podcast. Next episode. I don't think we should overreact to what's happening in the AHL, but let's just say this. It's not good.
Is that your official voice?
No.
The Steve Dangle.
This is me clenching my sphincter as we go into the playoffs with one goal.
I don't want to hear that.
There you go.
No,
you wanted to know what the voice was? Now you know.
They got Big Save Dave and Michael Hutchinson.
Mm-hmm. I want to know where Big Save Dave's getting his haircut. The hell, man.
There is one last thing.
For like 8 months.
One last thing on the goalie front. We'll end on a positive. Congratulations to Joseph Woll, who set a Marlies regular season record for saves in a game with 57.
Oh, that's okay. I thought you had a bigger thing than that.
He set a record. That happened recently, not in 2009.
Jesse, write this down because in 2030 we're gonna have to ask him about it. So just make sure that you got a note for this.
That was like a big deal.
Yeah. What was it that Sid Sixero said to you the day after the Marlies won the championship?
Culver Cup means nothing.
He went in that day.
You were there for that, right?
Yeah,
it was unnecessary.
Oh,
that was he brought me in to spar with him.
Very
was just like, but I wasn't prepared at all. Like I didn't bring gloves.
No, you got Jake Paul'd.
Yeah, I didn't know I was going to have to justify the entire existence of the American Hockey League. Like, geez.
With that, we will leave you, and we love you, and we will see you Monday.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.